There were quite a few players on the team that didn't necessarily get along with Fangio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miami Dolphins players hate this defensive coordinator, and they're showing it right now on social media. Tyreek Hill's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, has made some comments about this fella, but now defensive coordinator Vic Fangio is officially the Philadelphia Eagles problem. The Eagles have hired this man to be their defensive coordinator. We know in the middle of the 2023 season, they had Matt Patricia take over and try to be defensive play caller, but now they get the services of the former Denver Broncos head coach and former D coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. We will see if this will be a match made in heaven, because there were some rough problems last season, particularly with Vic Fangio and the players on the Miami Dolphins. Why else would the Dolphins move on from this guy if he's such a great defensive coordinator and has so much experience, which he does? Well, Ian Rappaport let us know the reasons why Vic Fangio and the Miami Dolphins went their separate ways.
I think it's fair to say it was a little up and down the entire season. Players, kind of grumbling about the way they were used, the scheme, all of that. Fangio, one of the more grizzled veterans in the NFL, certainly not for everyone.
Certainly not for everyone. I don't think it was all scheme and everything based on some of the stories we're hearing now and some of the reaction we're hearing now from players. A lot of this goes all the way back to Vic Fangio's days with the Denver Broncos. Keep in mind, Sua Cravens, a safety, talked about the fact that Vic Fangio was super cold to this guy. In 2022, Sua Cravens was saying that he has countless stories of Vic that Justin Simmons and several other defensive backs on the Denver Broncos would verify are 100% true. He talked about being cut by the Denver Broncos, and they asked if he wanted to meet with Vic Fangio afterwards, who was the head coach, and he said yes and waited outside his door, knocked and waited for 10 minutes, and he was inside the building but chose not to meet him. And Sua says the obvious thing, that if he would have stormed out and made a scene, he would have been labeled a cancer by the media. Even recently with the Miami Dolphins, you can just see how pompous and pretentious this guy is. He's always blaming the talent, could not blame coaching at all. Just check out what he had to say here.
What has been your impression when you see the players on the field of the talent that you have on defense?
We have some really good talent at some places. Our good players have got to play really good for us to be good, and we got to find the other guys to fill in that play good in spite of their lack of playing time and experience.
Now, this is not too crazy, but this makes sense once you hear all the other details that have come out since the time with the Denver Broncos, since that press conference where he doesn't even hype up his players. Instead, he just says how they need to find better ones when he's asked about the talent on his team. We have a Miami sports broadcaster saying that Vic Fangio didn't have a great relationship with some of the players on the team, which could have played a part in his surprising exit from the team. There are a lot of negative reports about Vic Fangio by Fan Nation's Omar Kelly, who talked about Fangio's stubbornness and uncompromising ways and how they didn't sit well with many players and even other coaches. And Fangio's performance was a major topic of discussion in Coach Mike McDaniel's exit interviews, and there were a number of teams' top performers who wanted Fangio to change his ways or to replace, and they flat out told Mike McDaniel this. And ever since the Dolphins have parted ways with Vic Fangio, we've seen some stories online, mainly from safety Javon Holland, showing this little IG story of kicking rocks right when the freaking Vic Fangio news hits. Based on this kicking rocks, I definitely don't think he's a big-time Vic Fangio fan at all whatsoever. Right when the news hit, you also had defensive back Cam Smith show this unlock emoji on Twitter. Looks like he thinks he's going to be freed up and doing so great now that Vic Fangio is gone. The big story, though, is when Tyreek Hill's agent came out and said some things about Vic Fangio that confirmed some of these reports. And this is a big deal because Tyreek Hill is one of the highest paid players on the team. And you got his agent saying some negative things, must mean it was the dominant narrative.
There were quite a few players on the team that didn't necessarily get along with Fangio. And so it wasn't a great relationship with many of the players. There were some guys that loved him, but there was quite a few that didn't. It definitely wasn't a unanimous positive relationship.
So it was an ugly exit for Vic Fangio and the Miami Dolphins, and now the Philadelphia Eagles will see if he can take over. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, has had to fire both of his coordinators after an embarrassing collapse in the 2023 season. And he's hired a big-name defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. Who knows if he'll hire a big-name offensive coordinator? Either way, a reporter asked him a rude question, basically asked the guy, what are you going to do now that we're hiring all these great coordinators?
Defensive coordinator is going to be in charge of the offense, and the defensive coordinator is going to be in charge of the defense. What is your role going to be?
The head coach of the football
What
team.
does that entail? How does it change?
Yeah, I guess it'd be this very similar to what's going on right now.
So it was a rude question, obviously. The point being that the Eagles are going for big name coordinators. And when you got big name coordinators, especially people like Vic Fangio, who've been head coaches before, it does make the current head coach seem a little redundant. After collapsing this year, the Eagles just seem so upset. They seem like they don't trust the coaching staff. There's been a lot of negative energy on the sidelines and negative reports. We'll see if Vic Fangio, the guy who already pissed off players with the Miami Dolphins, we'll see how he improves the culture and helps the Philadelphia Eagles gel this year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to this channel for more daily quick news content from me, Wi-Fi Willie, on this channel, Wi-Fi Willie Daily. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.